I started documenting my life on YouTube to watch back my memories as I get older and keep this as a place for friends and family back home to watch what I've been doing while I moved away. The first time I really dove into color grading, it really shifted the way I view filmmaking. It's not about just adding a filter or making things look cool. It's about bringing emotions of a scene to life, giving it depth and adding layers to a story that go beyond what's more just on the screen. Those emotions to me is about capturing the raw feeling, the texture, the cinematic vibe that pulls you in. Some people call this effect overused, but I think it's about time we embrace that timeless look again. I feel like when I grew up watching YouTube, that orange and teal saturation of João Alvarez making travel edits and Justin Escalona doing his daily docs was taking over. And honestly, to me, I really emulate that and I love that style. My style of color grading is tailored to what I like, and honestly, you don't need a huge budget or a massive crew. You just need to find your style and how you want to see the world through your videos. Okay, today I'm going to talk about how color grading really helped the way I view the world. I know it's a really big statement, but it's true. This video is a bit different to my regular programming. Get your pajamas on, turn your lights on, get cozy, maybe even grab a bowl of grapes, and listen in folks, you're in for a fun one. So to start off, this whole video is going to be the complete opposite of gatekeeping. I'm going to go straight to the point, put all my settings down. So starting off, I'm going to go with my camera gear. I use the Sony a7S III and a ZV-E1. I love the flexibility it gives me, the dynamic range, and that cinematic feel that I can just easily capture. I also love that in these cameras I can put my embedded LUT so I can see what it looks like exactly on the screen. So the feedback that I'm getting through my screen is exactly what I'm going to be putting in the video. I shoot in S-Log3 and it's a workhorse for me. I've been able to push the limits and honestly for me it always delivers. These are my exact camera settings on the screen. I shoot 4K 25 frames per second, or I shoot 50 frames per second if I'm slowing these down. I shoot in S-Log3 and I use XAVC SI 4K for better quality, smaller files. The base ISO on the ZV-E1 and the A7S III is 800 to 12800, and then I use flexible ISO shooting, and the color gamut I shoot on is a Gamut 3.Cine S-Log3. Look, honestly, people get super technical with exposure, how to expose right. Honestly, I just expose 1.7 stops above, and I just look at my monitor screen and see what looks good on my LUT back to me. So I don't really dive too deep into the specs and how to expose right. I just expose for what looks good on me. I'm not trying to make a movie. I'm just literally shooting for YouTube, and I want it to be easy for my eyes and my viewers' eyes. All right, let's dive into chapter 2, which is color grading. For me, Final Cut Pro is where this all comes together. We actually edit all of our Yes Theory content on Final Cut and honestly grade a lot of our footage on that too. No DaVinci Resolve for me. I do have DaVinci, but Final Cut is where I bring the vision to life. I've been using Final Cut for ages, and I'm all about flexibility it offers when it comes to creating that film aesthetic. So for me, finding that right film look that matches your emotion and piece, I use a combination of LUTs, custom curves, a bit of the magic that I've picked up over time. But honestly, one of my favorite things to use and work around this film look is the Dehancer plugin for Final Cut. I'll leave the link to their website in the description below, but honestly, this is the way I literally grade and film everything. So with Dehancer Pro, you get all of these features below, and I'm gonna show you exactly my step-by-step guide on how I color grade on Final Cut. Okay, well, first of all, my project file's in Final Cut. I'm gonna name this test grade. I use 4K, 25 frame rate, and my resolution's 4K. Rendering, I just leave that to 422. I just hit OK, and then it's basically here with a timeline. Okay, so once I get this, I get my footage from my RAW camera and I drag it straight into the timeline. So regarding my footage, after I've cut it through, I've made a rough timeline here with some footage of when my mum and I went to Boracay. Okay, so what I do typically with all my videos is that I put adjustment layers for my grades. Other ways you can do this is grading each clip separately, but to me, I find adjustment layers for long form YouTube, like what I edit, just a bit more easier. I'm not sure if this compresses any files or anything like that, but I found this is the best way for me. Open my FX preset tab. I will then go to custom LUT. I will drag that onto my first adjustment layer. Go up into my settings here, click the adjustment layer, and then custom LUT will show up. And then from here, I will select my LUT. So I'm also using the Cineprint LUTs. There's Cineprint Power Grade, Cineprint 16, Cineprint 12, but I honestly just use one of the LUTs that they use as even like a monitor LUT, but I use this in my video. So what I do is I look on what sort of style I want. One of them has a bit more contrast than the other, so 250D, which is literally OSM means on-screen monitor. So I'm using this for a grade for my video. I don't know if that's bad or good, but see what's more different. I'm gonna go for 500T on this. So this is already making my footage really nice. A lot of people honestly might be like, oh, this is so easy and that's like the way, but for me, making sure I have not high exposures, low exposures, making sure my midtones and everything's okay is a big part of what I'll go into next. So let's talk about the second adjustment layer. I will again go to the effects tab, I'll search up Dehancer, I'll drag this onto my adjustment layer, and then it will give me this tab up here. This is where you can have a lot of fun. So I'm going to tell you what I do for my videos, which is a bit of a hack compared to other things, but this is where you have each individual thing. I kind of scanned through this and I found it quite simple on what I wanted to achieve, where I actually haven't dove into the source and the separate things. So to get my exact look, I actually turn a lot of the film things off because I don't use the film emulation on my videos as I want that orange and teal look. The things I turn on actually is bloom. So bloom, if you can see on the on-screen monitor, bloom has that dreamy effect straight away. It kind of like emulates the things around you and the surroundings and just makes it a bit more dreamy and make it sit pop. I used to use halation. This is another way to get even more of that dreamy glowy effect, but I'll only use that on certain videos. Sometimes it's a bit too harsh. Sometimes I'll use film grain on certain films, but honestly, all I use is that bloom effect on top of this LUT. So that's how I achieve my film look on my videos, using the Cineprint on-screen monitor look, but also the big thing from this that makes that bloom is Dehancer. A lot of people might use DaVinci for this and do their own separate power grades, but I've been using Final Cut and I've been trying to find a workaround on how I can make my grading very much easier. If I was to use completely Dehancer, these are the styles that you can get. You'd click on source, choose camera, the vendor, I'm using a Sony, use whatever one you have. Camera, or the whole camera listed here. I have this Sony ZV-E1. I'll click Sony ZV-E1. What format I'm using S-LUT. I'm using S-Gamma3 Cine. From here, you can change a lot of the exposure comp, the temperature comp, tint comp, defringe, defringe radius, and defringe enabled. So here's where the fun part comes in. You have a wide array of a lot of film looks coming in from the top. You just have to enable it, and whatever style you want is emulated through this. So as I said, you can look through the film, you can play around with what sort of style you want and the kind of mood you want for the videos. And then you can even open up Film Developer, which has contrast boost. There's so many different things inside of this plugin that you can use. I just haven't utilized it to the max. I've been trying to find what looks best for me. And that was my step before. But if you want to break down this, you can really go in depth with it. Cool thing with Bloom is that there's Super 8, Super 16, Super 35, and 75mm. With your profiles, you just, honestly, I edit this towards what my eyes look like. Also, there's LUT generator. You can actually create your own LUT from this and then export it and then use this in other videos, which is awesome. Honestly, for me, with that film look, using Dehancer is such a boost for color grading. Another thing I really want to talk about is my exposure for things. Another thing I do is go to my color wheels. I've changed this directly in my settings. What you need to do to change this in your settings is go to Final Cut settings and go to General and Color Inspection, go to Color Wheels. I think it's automatically set on Color Board, but go to Color Wheels. And a good rule of thumb is another thing you can do is create your own workspace in color. So this is my color workspace. It just gives me all of the layers and what I want to see. And regarding grading, I will show you a perfect example in this video because it's quite overexposed. So my base layer, which is my main grade layer, I'll grade all of this on this LUT here because the top layer is just technically my bloom. You know, it's from my film emulation plugin where this is the first layer is mainly my color layer. So typically, if you look at this luma curve over here, you want it to stay below 100 and above 0. So sometimes when you overexpose, it will be very clunky above 100, where I try to just reduce it down, drop my midtones a little bit, and drop my shadows a little bit. And even that's a bit more inviting. I don't really touch the global color wheel. And again, if you want to change the temperature, the benefit of shooting in S-Log Cine 3 is you've got full dynamic range. You can like literally change the mood and make it look very blue like that. But at the sunset of this, it was also this is the natural color that I wanted. So, regarding color in Final Cut, my export settings from this is I just hit export, none of these, settings, H.264, video, and from there, that's it. I don't touch anything else. Okay, at the end of the day, this is all about creating something that feels timeless. You don't need to complicate things with 1,000 different steps. Just focus on the fundamentals. The camera, your editing software, and your vision and story on what style you want. For me, it's about setting the mood and telling a story that resonates with viewers, but also something I can watch back that feels a bit nostalgic every time I watch it. So whether you're starting out or whether you've been doing this for years, here's a video on how color grading has changed the way I see the world. It's made me appreciate the small things. And again, I'm no professional in color grading. I'm open for advice. If you've enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. Leave a comment below if this has helped you. But yeah, have fun with it. Film emulation is all about filming. Color grading is so tailored for yourself. This is the way I grade. Shout out to Cineprint and Dehancer for making my color grading process much more easy. All right, thank you all for listening. I'll see you all in the next video.
You're looking like $1 million. Something about the way you strut your stuff.